everybody, and welcome to Rise Up with Ivy and Calla,
where spirituality meets practicality. And good morning, I'm Ivy.
And I'm Calla.
Oh my God, I'm so excited about today. I can't wait.
And for those of you who are watching us, you see there is somebody else on your screen other than just Ivy and Calla.
I'm so happy.
So let me do the honors of introducing our friend, Nancy Weiss. Nancy, I'm not reading her bio right at this moment, but Nancy to me is a motivator. She is a mother. She is a wife. She is a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful spirit.
Absolutely. Like, I couldn't think of a better person to join us on this first, because as we talked about yesterday, when we come into season 2, we're going to start bringing guests. So yes. Nancy actually is our very first guest, and I can't wait to. This has been something I've wanted to see for forever, because I agree with you. She's one of those people that, you know, when we're kind of going through some stuff too, she's one of those people that she's just so intuitive. Her posts are on. It gives you that movement up, and you're like, yeah, that's right. I need to remember this. And she's one of those hardest working, not going to keep you down type of women I think I've ever had the wonderful opportunity to meet.
So officially, I will read her bio, and then Nancy, of course. Nancy Weiss is an intuitive coach, a Reiki master, and an Oracle deck creator. After going through infertility, having 2 babies, and then breast cancer in just 6 short years, she realized that she needed to nourish herself on a deeper level to live happier and healthier. Her passion is supporting other spiritual women in reclaiming their identity, their self-care, and self-love so they can experience life fully and authentically. Welcome, Nancy.
Welcome.
How are you doing today?
I am doing amazing. Thank you so much. I'm like blushing from all the beautiful compliments that you just gave me. So I really appreciate that so much. And I'm like super excited to be your first guest.
Yay! I am so happy to have you here. So before we get into the meat of the things, do you want to share any of your projects? We also are going to put links up to your
Oracle deck, your website, just all that juicy stuff so people can find you.
Yeah,
so
sure.
Can you tell us a little bit about what you have going on?
Yeah, thank you so much. So I recently just started ramping up in my business again after taking a year off. I took that year off, and then I came out with the Oracle deck, which was just a divine message that came to me one day. That was last August or September. So I have the Oracle deck, the Key to Life Oracle deck, all about self-care, self-love, and spiritual transformation. I have my Instagram account, which is where I do all of my different types of content, different reels, and different things that you can learn to kind of remember about your self-care. And I have a private Facebook group called Reclaim Yourself with Nancy Weiss. And that's where I am going to start doing weekly card pulls, distance Reiki, and different offerings in there. So that is where I'm focusing on right now, including distance Reiki sessions. So that's my primary focus right now.
And that's what she's focusing on now, not to mention moving into a new home and having a spouse and kids. And where do you get all this energy from?
I think it's part of being, if we talk about a little about human design, about being a manifesting generator. I am an extreme multitasker. I also know how to collapse time. And so I get a lot of the times people tell me, well, how did you do that? How did you do what you did? How did you, I planned our wedding in 12 weeks, 2 states away, with 2 different venues. And I've done all different types of things. And it's all about this kind of collapsing time and just, I don't know, having my hand in all these little things and being a very goal-driven Capricorn, where I see that prize at the top of the mountain. And it's also just like that. I do trudge along sometimes where I'm like, I gotta get up to the top. So I think there's a combination of those things. And just this, I don't know, this natural zest for completion and being proud of myself. My pride and being proud, I don't want to say pride, but being proud of myself is a big motivator to be like, wow, like, I can't believe I did that. So I think that's what feeds into that energy for me.
So we're doing this whole week on manifesting, and we were talking. So, we actually looked up the dictionary version of manifestation and the spiritual messaging. And one of the things that I think that I struggled with, do you want to read? Yeah.
Okay.
Listen to the spiritual description.
Manifestation refers to various pseudoscientific self-help strategies that can purportedly make an individual's wishes come true by mentally visualizing them. Manifestation techniques are based on the law of attraction.
So we get the law of attraction. You got to see it, or like attracts like. You have to see, manifestation, see it, believe it, know it, it becomes. But doesn't that, when they're talking about wishes, isn't that the opposite of what we're manifesting? Because if it's only a wish, doesn't it remain a wish?
I don't think so, because I think there's many different types of different manifestations come in different ways. I didn't manifest my daughter or my husband the way I manifested the free parking spot in front of Kroger. I didn't manifest a completely paid home the way I manifested, getting a free coffee at Starbucks. There's I feel like, and I haven't fully figured out like how I make these certain things happen. But I think there's the thing that underlines it all is just kind of like this knowing. There's this knowing and there's the self-worth. This is the huge part of things, is the self-worth when it comes to manifestation. If you don't believe that you are worthy of the thing that you desire, then it's very hard to bring that thing into your life.
Okay, I need to back up to a statement that you just said. Just correct me if I'm wrong, but did you just say that you manifested a home that you didn't pay for?
Yes.
Okay.
You know what? I have to be like,
we need to hang out with her more often.
I need to be like honest. I think it is a little bit hard sometimes. So one of the things is that I try not to speak too much of certain things because I feel like it's bragging. And so that's like a very an interesting, but I'm going to try and be very open with you here and just be honest. Like, these are the facts. These are the details,
Right.
And I'm not bragging. I'm just telling you what has come into my life.
And it's sharing so people can understand it. I mean, I hear the term manifestation all the time, but until we actually have those examples,
it is possible that I can manifest a home that I don't pay for because Nancy has done it.
Correct. So we have been living mortgage free for the last 5 years, I think so. And it turned out to be an unexpected gift from my husband's parents. There was no speaking of it. There was nothing that came before it. Have I said, yes, I have said to myself, it would be amazing if we just didn't have to pay a mortgage and we just, got to spend our money on other things that we enjoy. There have been and so even something simple like that comes along. Like, these things actually happen. And until it happens, you're just like, that sounds ridiculous. Like, oh, Nancy must be lucky. Nancy must be whatever. But there's so much magic in this universe. And once you start to see, so things build up. I don't feel like people just rush in and all of a sudden manifest this, something like that. Though some people can. But it started out so small. It started out in 2009 when I read the book, The Secret. I actually watched the movie because I was like, I don't have time for books. So I read this, I watched this. I was in a very miserable time in my life. Miserable. I was living with a drug addict that I didn't want to be with. I felt very stuck. I couldn't get out of this position. I was miserable. I was depressed. Everything was a dark cloud. everything. I was miserable about myself, my body, everything. And I watched the movie The Secret, and then I read the book. And I started doing those things. I started saying, you know what? I am happy in my home. I'm happy in my home right now. I'm happy within myself right now. Everything that I could put a spin on that was negative, even if I didn't freaking believe it in this moment, I flipped it around. I'm in a loving relationship. I'm in a healthy this. It was almost like fake it until you make it. That's
Okay.
how it started out.
And I remember I've even talked about changing your perspective. It changes things. But I'm going to stop you there because I do want to ask the question. And we brought this up yesterday. At what point are we hurting ourselves more? Okay, so bad relationship. For those people who might be in a violent relationship or an abusive of some sort, I'm happy in my relationship. I'm happy here. I have this. At what point are we hurting ourselves? Do you see where I'm asking?
Yeah.
And kind of being in, like you and I were talking about, being delusional.
Right.
So I think there is a fine line between what you're going to tell yourself in specific situations like that. I mean, an abusive relationship is something that is very serious. So that we may not go in that route of saying, oh, I'm in a healthy, loving relationship. But you may say to yourself, I'm open to being in a healthy and loving relationship. I love myself enough to be in a healthy and loving relationship. So we're not going to say that somebody, do you understand what the difference there?
Yeah.
Of what you want, like how we want to perceive ourselves is the big point, because we're the one that want to attract that new energy. We're the one that wants to improve how we think about ourselves, how we feel about ourselves. When we do that, we get the strength to make the changes to change our lives. You know what I mean? It took me 3 years of living with the addict to get out. It took me 3 years of hiding the fact that I was living that way. I didn't tell anybody. I was in misery for 3 years. It took me 3 years. I was with him 7. It took me 3 to 4 years to work myself out of it. But it was a constant reminder. It was a constant thing of helping myself. I showed myself love. All I kept doing was showing somebody else love. We can have 5 TV shows.
I'm agreeing with this.
We're talking about and I've spoken about this before. So I want to try to kind of rein it back in a little bit. But it took a lot of me bringing in the self-love to myself, bringing in the love for myself so that I could manifest and bring in the things that I truly did want, like a healthy relationship, a new home, a home, and different things like that. So I think we have to be very wary and cautious of our each individual situation. But when it comes down to it, it's really about working on yourself and loving yourself.
I think you need to talk to her because you were talking about the realist side of it.
Well, in my head, manifestation is, okay, you're manifesting your dream home. Well, my dream home is a home that I can afford. And realistically, can't afford a lot right now. And so what am I manifesting?
And then I was even talking about my son being sick. I am, imagining, being in that life where he's healthy and all of this and yada, yada, yada. And it's almost like when we think in that spot, then you start to see things fall apart. Mm. How do you change that around? Like, I've been imagining my son well, and we've had a backslide out of the blue. Same concept. You're manifesting.
I would like a home that I don't have to worry about stressing about paying my entire income to pay for. I would love to have a home that my family can be comfortable in. Meanwhile, here is a letter from my landlord and my rent is going up by $600. Okay. It's just
I get it. I get it because I've been through, it's not like I've had this easy life. You know what I mean? I've been through a lot of different things. you
Oh,
know.
absolutely.
Yeah, so I've been through a lot of different things, and some things are very quick and some things take years to work out of. But here, Calla, I would say, how can you start to look at what you have now and being like, I am so grateful for the money in my account. My account is overflowing. I am so grateful that I have a home, or wherever you're living now. I'm happy in the home I'm in now. This is also too about being absolutely grateful for what is in this exact moment. When you show that gratefulness, and that universe is attracted like a magnet to the, she's so happy, she's so joyful, she's so grateful, this energy that's coming from her is so amazing. She's not thinking about the lack. If you continue to focus on the lack of, like, I just wish I had more money, I just wish I had this house, you're thinking in the lack perspective. How can you flip it around?
I'll give you an example too, Nancy. It happened when I was in the fire service, when I was with the energy company, and then Old Magic Ways. You get to a point of, this is it. This is my career. I love what I'm doing. I can't see myself in anything else. 3 weeks later, you leaving, you closing the shop. So I'm to the point where I'm never going to say, this is it. This is my final career, especially if I really like it, because I feel like I almost do the opposite, where I get to a point where I'm like, wow, I really have worked hard to reach this. How do you change that mindset? How do you, because that seems to be something we kind of talk about. And you're like, well, unless that spirit's saying, haha, I don't want you to get too comfortable, let's move you to the next level.
I think there's that. I think it's sometimes there's a part where we have to push through. I think sometimes there may be a tendency to stop right before we're going to have that big breakthrough. And so we may say, you know what, like, I'm gonna call it quits here. And I think that happens to us sometimes, where we're not pushing through to that next level when we reach that resistance. I think life is very mysterious, too. We have things that we can't see in the moment, but in hindsight, when you look back, you think, like, would I have met this person? Would I be where I am today? What would I be doing right now? You may not have this show if you were still doing the energy company, and you're living something right now. You're doing something that you are in charge of. No one's going to stop you from doing this, right? No one's going to stop either one of you from doing this. As long as you have a phone, you're going to do this, and so you're going to live your passion and your joy and be grateful for this. I can look, my two girls, I went through all this IVF after IVF, and I could not understand, I'm like, I don't understand, why isn't this all working? Why can't I have my babies, of something that I deeply desired? And then I kind of let go, and then I was able to be led to them. My life led me in all these different ways. I moved from New Jersey to Georgia for no reason. We got married. We're like, let's go to Georgia. It's good there, because most New Jerseyans move to Georgia, right? But I had no idea why. No idea why I was there. And then that's where I found my babies. That's where I was able to find my embryo adoption. That's where my two girls were waiting. Luna was frozen for 13 years, and Ayla was frozen with her for 15 years. They were waiting. My husband, I was alone for years and years. I was in bad relationships for almost forever, for 12 years. That whole time, my husband was living in Ohio for 12 years, and on a whim decided to move back to New Jersey, where we met on Match.com. So, yeah, those 12 years sucked because I didn't have the love in my life. I was going through a-hole after a-hole and not with the right person, and it was hard, of like trying to figure out, like, I don't understand. I'm a good person. Like, why is this happening to me? And this is where, then so now I look back and I'm like, holy crap, I couldn't have met Chris because for the 12 years that he was in Ohio, and then I finally meet him. And then we're trying to have babies all this time. And then I randomly moved to Georgia. And that's where I find my girls who were frozen for 13 years. And so I think it's just, this mystery of life is something that we're never going to fully understand, but there is this beautiful hindsight that you get to see. And I think it's important to focus on that when you think about the places that you're in. You're like, if this didn't happen, I wouldn't be here right now,
And with my son's illness,
which is terrible. No one wants that. You know what I mean?
I also know the spiritual side of me realizes that this is a path that he has to walk, because he may run into somebody who is in desperate need of his. So I get that, but it's so hard to balance the ego side, which is fear and you control and all of that, to the spiritual of having faith.
Yeah, that's why I think it's important to do that practice. That's what we have to practice each day. You know what I mean? In doing our daily, whatever it is, your meditation or your daily practice, and trying to bring yourself back to what happened. So I'll give you, did you want to say something, Calla? Because I know
you're okay.
No, here.
Continue.
So this weekend, we're moving. We had an open house. So we purchased our new home, our little dream home, and we're now in the process of selling our home. And we're living in a gated community now. And so we found out after 3 hours of the open house that neighbors stole the sign for the open house on the outside of Carolina Forest Boulevard and repeatedly removed the letter on the gate box so that anyone can get in. So it was on purpose that a neighbor did this, or multiple neighbors. Again, remove the open house sign so nobody would know they could see it, and then removing the gate code so that they couldn't even get in to see the house. Okay. What would your first thoughts be? You're really pissed off, right? Really pissed off. Like, here I am, I'm trying to sell my home.
Right.
I can't believe these people did this to me. Like, what the hell?
It's why I'm getting out of this neighborhood.
So I sat here and I said, wait a minute. What if everything is working out in my favor? What if the person that was going to get in would have made a very difficult transaction for us? What if I have to just step back for a minute from what I want and whatever I think is my highest good, because this house is for someone else's highest good? And you know what? They couldn't make it to that open house on Sunday. And they're meant to have this house. But now they'll see it this week. And it'll be their chance. They'll be the first one to see it, where they get to make the offer and they get to manifest their dream home. It's so easy to focus on ourselves for something like that. And then to really sit down and be like, wait a minute. There's so much working behind the scenes we can't see in the moment. And we have to really appreciate and really see the silver lining. I really believe that.
I remember I was talking a few weeks ago, and when I left the fire department, because we ended up going to help my mother-in-law at that point, people knew me all over the country. And so I knew it wouldn't be a big deal to get a job, and I could not find one where we moved to. And I was so pissed off because I had to take a retail sales job. I'm like, what in the heck? This is who I am, and here I'm doing this. Little did I know, X amount of years later, I'd have my own retail store. Had I not had that 1 year, I would not have known how to do this. And so I do see that. But, the one piece she brought up in this that I found really interesting, because we tend to be able to do things for other people easier than ourselves. And the one way she worded it was, but the person who was manifesting their dream home too. So it wasn't even just looking at what her own desire was, right? But for the greater good of the desire.
Well, my greater good is for my entire home. It's not just for me.
We need to get you over here helping to manifest.
Right. I think, Calla, one of the important things is one of the main things of manifesting and bringing what you want into your life is releasing the control of how it's going to happen. It's sitting there saying like, well, I'm only doing this, like how it's impossible. How on earth would I make this extra money to have something that's worth this much? It's impossible. And once we put that word like this is impossible of how that's going to happen, we don't allow the universe to work its magic of sending you those possibilities. And so we have to keep it open. So let's take a vision board, for example. Before I met my husband, for years, I had a BMW X5 picture on my vision board. I thought this was like the best car ever. I've seen other women drive it. This is going back a really long time. BMW X5. I wanted it all white. I wanted a dark brown interior. This was my dream car. And that thing sat on my vision board, right? And honestly, there was no way with my salary as a single woman that I would be able to get this car. However, I just held the faith. I was like, well, that car is going to be mine one day. And that's it. I just know that I'm going to get this car. It's on my board. And that's just what's going to happen. I don't know how. I'm not in control of that. We have to think about, there could be a million ways you can get a car. And I get married, and a few years later, I'm like, I think I want to sell my Jeep. And my husband was like, well, let's get your dream car. And I was like, what? Are you serious? And he said, yeah, let's go shopping. And I got my BMW X5 with the big package, like inside, the better interior. And it was friggin' amazing. Now, I think too, it's important to know that we don't have to always manifest of something like ourselves. It's okay to manifest through others. And I'm good at that. I do manifest through others a lot. I do manifest through myself, but it's also through my others. And that's not a bad thing. You know what I mean? But there is just like, I got that BMW X5 that I stared at every day. I saw it on my board,
Maybe part of the problem we have, though, is when we think manifestation, we think instant gratification. And that's not actually it. It's, I was talking yesterday about the card deck I'm working on. I'm like, great, what am I supposed to do with it? Really, you were the inspiration to begin for me to manifest what I'm working on. But then, like you and I talked, it's almost like, what next? What next? It's almost like waiting for the other shoe to drop. So it's almost, again, not having faith in the process.
How about instead of what's next, how about I can't wait for what's next?
It's rewording things.
You have to change your internal dialogue. You have to change your words and the words that you use each day. Instead of what the hell is going to happen next? I can't wait to see what's next. We have to change our internal dialogue so that it becomes like a broken record playing in our mind. It takes a long time to retrain the brain from how it speaks to ourselves into a new language and a new process of thinking. This is every day. This is Post-it notes on your mirror, on your bathroom mirror, in your car, reminding you of the new way you want to speak about yourself and your life.
This should be easy for you. As much as you are about affirmations, looking in the mirror, seeing that, it's self-love, but in a different way of self-love.
Okay.
So we're going to put Post-it notes everywhere. But you're so good at that embodiment of that. So Sai is a manifesting generator too. And he manifests all the funny things. Like he'll joke and then all of a sudden it's like legit. So we laugh at that. And he said he still hasn't quite tweaked his manifesting powers. But we definitely need to work.
I think it's important too, if you are someone that maybe hasn't done it before, that you start small You know what I mean? I don't think we could, not everybody could open up and be like, I'm going to win $1 million tomorrow. You know what I mean? Like, so you don't always want to just like jump into that biggest thing, but starting out small with what feels comfortable for you that you can actually believe in. That's too, it's like, how can you make this a little bit easier for yourself so that you can believe in what you're talking about? Do you think you can get into a fully paid mortgage-free home right out the gate? Maybe not. But what can you do that's a step or two before that actually can kind of like be like, all right, you know what? I believe this. I can think that this could happen. And so starting with those small steps is important too, instead of just trying to skyrocket.
We were talking about the new movie, The Secret, the new done one.
Oh, there's another one?
Huh?
They made another one?
Yes, with Katie Holmes and Josh Lucas.
Oh, I gotta see that.
It's phenomenal. But in one part, Katie Holmes is a single mom. She's struggling. She was a widow because her husband had passed. And he comes into their life, coincidentally. But anyways, they're getting ready to eat rice and beans, and the kids are sick of eating rice and beans. And he's like, what do you really want? They're like, pizza. Like, tell me about that pizza. And then they show, they're describing it to a T. And then the doorbell rings, and pizza's delivered by Katie Holmes' boyfriend at the time. You know what I mean? So you sit there and you look at it, and I do wonder if a lot of our issues with manifestation is that we are in a society now where everything is at our fingertips and it's instant gratification. Oh, I want to watch a movie. I don't have to wait till it comes on or the series comes on next week because I can watch all the series now. Oh, I'm hungry. I don't feel like going anywhere. Order it. We're at such an instant gratification place. We have to almost go back and remember there's a process too.
I also think it's kind of a benefit though.
Right.
What if you can just collapse time and just be like, what?
That's exactly what I was thinking. It's the universe. The universe can give instant gratification if it wanted to.
Right.
So I think that's like, I know that you have like a double-edged sword there, but I like to think like, you know what? I can have it if I want it. I can have it. I can bring that into my life. One of the craziest manifestations that I've had, and it's not like, a car or a house, was for a couple of weeks. I needed 3 things, right? I wanted 3 things. I needed fluoride-free toothpaste. I wanted to try a new kind because I didn't like the one I had. I was going to Starbucks and I said, wow, I really wish I had a travel straw because I felt bad that I kept getting, the plastic straws. I was like, I need a travel straw. And I was like, what the hell is, like, I'm like, I don't even know what a travel straw is. Okay. I don't even know like what that means. And I was watching a video or I was watching a cooking show and they were using this stuff called Celtic sea salt. It was in this bag and it was a blue bag. And I was like, ooh, I got to get me some of that. I want some fancy salt, right? 3 weeks later, I get a package at the door, right? I never told anybody. I never searched for this stuff online. I get a package at the door and I was like, what the hell is this? Like this, I got a free package and I see it's from a vitamin company. And it's a vitamin company that I ordered some new supplements from. And I was like, oh, how cool. I was like, they must have sent me a gift or something, right? In the box is a bag of the Celtic sea salt, a tube of fluoride-free toothpaste, and a travel straw, a glass straw in a plastic container so that you could take it with you. All those 3 things. That is one of the wildest manifestations that I ever saw come to me. How the hell, did that happen? All, not one, not separate, but all sent to me by one company, just because I would drive around and be like, oh, I gotta get me some salt. Shit, I need some toothpaste. Oh yeah, I wish I had a travel straw. All delivered to me. And I'm not lying. Like, I swear to God.
I'm shaking my head because those are the type of things that Psy manifests, okay? I was telling him yesterday, we went to a fast food restaurant one time, and there was a tour, like a big tour bus out there, and I was like, uh-oh, We're going to walk in. It's going to be like a bingo hall in there. You know what I mean? Because it was during the winter. So, it's not, it's more our snowbirds. And we walk in and everybody's sitting there eating their French fries and drinking their drink. And there was a bunch of them, and it was an older clientele. And Cy and I are just being silly. And he's like, B4, I 26. And then all of a sudden you hear G 49, bingo. And we turn and those sodas weren't there anymore. They had daubers in there. And we were like, what the heck is happening? Thank God he was with me, because nobody would have ever believed that story. And they might not now, but we know it was accurate. But it was the craziest thing. I was like, that was good. He can manifest that kind of stuff. But I think also, do you remember when you start seeing all the synchronistic signs? Like, it's so quick in the beginning. And then as you're on your journey, it's almost like divine is saying, hey, before you needed to see this, now you don't need to see it as often, right? So it kind of goes away. It's there, though. And it's kind of the same way to me, manifestation is. Like, it's about believing that it's not just the silly things you can manifest or the bad things you can manifest. If I go in thinking the only thing I'm going to manifest is the opposite of what I want, then that's all I'm going to manifest.
So, Nancy, for us beginners at manifesting, what do you recommend? And I'm typing, as you're saying it, I'm typing it down. And because I'm going to be posting it to letting people know, what do we need to do to start manifesting?
I think one of the things, the first thing is to really start changing your language. So consciously paying attention to how you speak to yourself every day and what you're saying about things. If you wake up like, oh, it's going to be another one of those friggin' days again, okay, then you know what? You're going to have another one of those shitty days again. How can you start to change? And this takes time. How could you start to change the process? Everything is always working out in my favor. That is a great one to put everywhere. In your bathroom mirror, in your car. Everything is always working out in my favor. That's why when you even have those little things happen, like the open house thing, right? Where it's like, okay, I could be really pissed off, but you know what? Everything's always working out in my favor. And to continually understand that and see yourself, to show yourself self-love, working on your self-love and self-worth, that you are worthy of the things that you want. If you really start to break it down and say, well, maybe I'm not worthy of XYZ. I don't have a college education. I didn't get this. I didn't do that. So maybe I really don't deserve it. How can you start to look at those things and break it down and say, you know what? I am worthy of these things. I'm worthy of these things because XYZ. And that's all about that self-love and self-worth that's going to start boosting your ability to manifest these things into your life. So your language is number one. Picking out your language and how you're speaking every day about the things that you either have or you don't have.
I see this being a conversation we're going to have again and again. And I hope that you will, I know that you will come back and be on this show when we go a little bit deeper next season, because I really believe this is something that needs more than a 30-minute conversation about. Do you offer one-on-one coaching or classes for manifestation?
I have a course for manifesting that has like all of my juicy stuff in it in 4 weeks, 4 classes. And I also put it together with distance Reiki and visualization together. And so you get the class and then visualization and distance Reiki afterwards. And that's, I have that available for purchase.
So we definitely want to get those links up, because I don't know about you, but I definitely want to try to, I want to work on this class. Yeah. You want to go to school with me on it? I will go to school with you. Yes. So you've got 2 more clients coming at you. But thank you so much for being here. And we're, again, cannot be more excited about having you here.
And it worked out with us having a guest on.
It did.
Technically, all the behind the scenes worked out.
Absolutely.
So Nancy, again, thank you very much for joining us here on Rise Up with Ivy and Calla,
where spirituality meets practicality.
Many blessings to you all.
Blessings.
Bye-bye.
Bye.